All right, Sunday, February 27th. Good fight week to you. Good pay-per-view week to you. This is AnikDotes presented by Draftkings, episode 9. I'm Jon Anik. I'm excited to be with you. Thank you for being with us once again. UFC 272. Covington versus Masvidal has held together, and it beckons in just a few days. From that there T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, I will be leaving midweek, but we're getting AnikDotes in the can before I go wheels up. And coming up on the program today, I have the live splits from the Draftkings Sportsbook, courtesy of my guy, Jeff Galius. So we'll get to those in main event mathematics. Also, a closer look at the odds history for the 20-time UFC veteran, Jorge Gamebred Masvidal, and how that might apply to this main event this weekend against Colby Covington, in which he is a big underdog. We will get to your questions, your comments relating to the pay-per-view coming up in Q and Anik. We call on our producer, Cody Merrow, for that. Thanks again for the thoughtful submissions, by the way, on Twitter and on Instagram. And then we will, of course, look back at my sports wagering losers and rip up your tickets. That segment's just got to go away. Like, I don't need to relive it all the time. And also we'll look ahead at where my action will be this week. And we'll go from there. So let us begin, as we always do, with main event mathematics. Today, we focus on the betting underdog, Jorge Gamebred Masvidal. So he enters this fight, as many of you know, following the back-to-back title fight losses to Kamaru Usman, once in 2020, then once last year, 2021. He was finished for the first time in his UFC career in the last meeting. So I thought these numbers were fairly interesting on Miami's Gamebred. Started his UFC career 420. In 2013 with a win over Tim Means Business. Got off to a 5-1 start in the UFC, did Masvidal. Then a lot of split decisions got in the way. I think foremost among them, the one in Virginia against Raging Ally Quinta. But the strength of schedule overall for Masvidal, really outstanding. Record-wise, little pedestrian, I guess. 12-8 in the UFC, easily could be 14-6 when I look at the ledger. But from a betting perspective, he has been the underdog in 7 of his last 8 fights. Plus 265 and plus 225, respectfully, against Kamaru Usman. He was a 3-1 favorite, minus 325 against Nate Diaz, but then the underdog against Ben Askren, plus 175, Darren Till, plus 185, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, plus 165, Damian Maia, even money underdog, and then Donald Cowboy Cerrone, which was another win, plus 150. So you could say to me he lost a lot of those fights. He did, 4-4 over those 8. But if you bet $100 on Masvidal in his last 8 fights, including the 2 against Usman, even if you were taking a flyer there, you're up a couple units, $210 or so based upon those odds and a $100 bet. And this weekend at 272, you're getting Gamebred at plus 260, perhaps even higher. So maybe some food for thought, depending on where it closes. Covington minus 335. Total on rounds, over 4.5 juice to minus 135, and the under 4.5 rounds is plus 105 here early during fight week. So we'll see how it plays out. On the Covington side, he's only been an underdog a handful of times in his UFC career in both the Kamaru Usman fights, and then he was also an underdog when he fought Damian Maia in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I think he opened the favorite there and closed as the underdog, if memory serves. All right. Where is the early action? Again, these numbers very much subject to change, because this is Sunday, about 6 days removed from UFC 272. 59% of the handle right now is on Jorge Gamebred Masvidal. That means almost 60% of the total money bet on the fight is on Gamebred, but 33% of the total bets are on him. So 67% of the total bets are on Colby Covington, even though 41% of the handle is on him. All right, that's it for main event mathematics. Hopefully we didn't dig too deep on the arithmetic for you there. So when Covington and Masvidal step into the octagon this coming Saturday at UFC 272, I'm going to be anxious, by the way, in the best of ways, though. But that is not the point. Draftkings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC, has a knockout offer for new customers. If you are one, all you need to do, bet just $1 on the main event. You get $100 in free bets, no matter what. Could be a first-round knockout, a submission, a majority draw, even a double knockout resulting in a no contest. No matter the outcome, you get paid. Now, some might say to us, hey, the Draftkings Sportsbook isn't available in my state yet. Not a problem. You can still feel the thrill of UFC 272 with DraftKings free-to-play pools, free to enter with $10,000 in prizes. All you need to do is answer a handful of questions, such as how long the fight will last. You can follow along to track your results as well. Just a great way to have a little bit of action, some skin in the game, so to speak. So all you need to do, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use promo code Jon Anik, JONANIK. Throw down just $1 on the UFC 272 main event and get $100 in free bets no matter the outcome. That's code Jon Anik this Saturday at Draftkings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. 21 plus minimum age and location requirements vary by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for full list of requirements and state-specific responsible gaming resources. Void where prohibited. Minimum $5 deposit. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, it is time now for Q&A. We thank you very much for all of your fine submissions and questions. Cody has sifted through. He has found the best 9 to honor the great late Ted Williams. Cody Merrow, can I see your shiny face? What do we have for UFC 272?
Jon Anik, episode 9, feeling fine. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. Sorry I didn't give you a pregnant pause to help with the edit there for the Q&A, but I think you'll find a way to make it work. It's nice to see you too. Why do you have the B on your Red Sox hat turned around?
Well, John, I got to make sure that I'm being neutral for all the fans. Not everyone out here is a Boston sports fan, you know?
That's right. I mean, let's not pretend that DraftKings isn't based in Boston, but I digress. All right. This is a huge pay-per-view. I mean, with respect to the BMF belt with Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz, this feels like the biggest non-championship affair I will have ever called. So let us hear from the fine masses. Hashtag AnikDotes. What do we have for Q&A for 272, kid?
Well, John, episode 9, we're going to start off with Pentameter 9. He asks, what was the last UFC grudge match that had the same level of animosity that George and Kobe share for each other?
All right, so I had a heads up that this question was coming. I went through the UFC's list of events and tried to find some of the big-time rivalries. I mean, Khabib Nurmagomedov and Conor McGregor, I think, is a rivalry that will withstand the test of time. Certainly, John Jones and Daniel Cormier is going to be a popular pick, even though it happened, at this point, I think their last meeting was 5 years ago or so. Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Rose Namajunas felt like real friction the second time around, if not the first. Israel Adesanya and Marvin Vettori are never going to have a cup of coffee together, even though I think to whatever degree they buried the hatchet. Colby Covington is going to be in a lot of these grudge match type situations. When he fought Tyron Woodley in 2020, it didn't have as much heat on it as it might have if they had met at a different point in time. Did I miss anything obvious in terms of the most heated rivalries and grudge matches in recent UFC history?
Well, I think Joanna and Claudia was a good one.
Yeah.
And also Ronda Rousey and Miesha Tate. I think one of the classics.
Nice of you to shine some spotlight on the ladies there. I mean, Nunes and Cyborg felt like there was a little bit of heat on that one as well. You're going into the Wayback Machine a little bit. You were like 19 years old when some of those fights were happening. All right, what else we got, kid?
JG Willikers asks, should Bryce Mitchell get past Edson Barbosa? Where would he be ranked and who should he be next up against?
Why are you pronouncing Edson Barbosa like that with your Brazilian Portuguese? If the listeners and the viewers don't know, Cody is dating an American Brazilian, which I guess has had a profound influence. What's with the accent? What are we doing here?
That's how you say his name, is it not?
Edson, I mean, come on, man.
He says his name. Go to the file, John. Watch the Anik and Florian podcast.
Unbelievable. All right, so I mean, I'm distracted. So should Bryce Mitchell win the fight this weekend, where would he be ranked and who should be next for him? Is that what the question is? My God, this guy. All right. So right now in the featherweight division, you have Alexander Volkanovski as the champion. He will fight the Korean Zombie for the belt in April. Brian T. City Ortega is number 2 in the world, and I think that fight, especially from a grappling standpoint, would be wildly fascinating if it were to hit the mat. So, should Bryce Mitchell get by Barbosa? That was the first thought that came to mind because Ortega doesn't appear to be matched up. I could see a main event between Thug Nasty and Calvin Kattar as well, but maybe Kattar wouldn't necessarily have an appetite for that fight. I really don't know. Josh Emmett is lurking at number 6 in the world. I'd kind of like to see him sit and maybe get a championship opportunity because of his age and some of the injury history with Josh Emmett. And then 7th-ranked Arnold Allen is facing Dan Hooker in what will be Hooker's featherweight return. So we'll see. A lot of options for Thug Nasty, but first, got to get by Edson Barbosa. We'll see what happens this weekend. That's no guarantee, even though Thug Nasty right now is favored to beat the perennial contender Edson Jr. Barbosa.
Fan favorite Bryce Mitchell.
That's the truth.
Coming up next, we got D. Hansen, MMA, fan of the program. If Covington can't take Masvidal down and this becomes a striking battle, should the line be more of a pick'em or Masvidal the favorite?
Well, I mean, if it was a kickboxing match, I think Masvidal would be the favorite. And I think that's essentially what the viewer is getting at here. But yes, if the fight plays out and consistently Colby Covington isn't able to leverage the fence and get takedowns and maybe get them in the center of the octagon, and land appreciable ground strikes, yeah, I think you'll see that reflected in the live number. But obviously this is not kickboxing, it's mixed martial arts. And that's why I think Covington, even if I don't think he deserves minus 335 respect, that's why he's getting all that respect from the odds makers and the betting public, at least to this point in time.
Well, John, and let me just push back a little bit. I mean, Colby Covington, as far as volume strikers go, that's a record performance out there every time that he shows up. I mean, the fight against Robbie Lawler, I was in the crowd for. I mean, can Masvidal throw 500, 600 strikes in a fight? I don't know. It remains to be seen.
No, that's fair. I mean, what Covington did against Robbie Lawler, I remember it well. I think it was August 3rd, 2019. One of the greatest singular performances that I have ever seen sitting in that play-by-play chair. Second only maybe to what's over my shoulder there, Max Holloway against Calvin Kattar in the UFC's debut on ABC. But yeah, I think that's a fair point. I'm just saying, in a striking situation, Masvidal, I think, would be the betting favorite, and I would probably want action on that side. All right, what else we got, kid?
Next, we're going to drag in some NFL fans here for anecdotes. Rumford Johnny asks, why does Greg Hardy keep getting main card exposure despite 2 brutal losses in a row?
So, because he sacked Tom Brady back in the day, of course. I got to think that Greg Hardy moves some sort of needle when it comes to the internal metrics. You look at a fight like Marina Rodriguez and Yan Xiaonan. It is a clear strawweight title eliminator, and it is not on pay-per-view. So what leads to that reality? Maybe that they want to put a heavyweight fight on the pay-per-view main card. Maybe because they think that Moldova's Sergey Spivak is a future title contender. Maybe they see that in Greg Hardy. But I think he's got to move whatever needle to get this type of showcase. But this is, I would say, the biggest pressure spot of his career, given the way the last couple fights went. I think he was 0-2 last year with a couple of knockout losses. So a lot of pressure on Gregory Hardy this weekend.
Age not really a factor at heavyweight, but he's not getting any younger to make that title run. That's for sure.
It's true.
Jamie Frodo MMA asks, what is your fight day ritual? And do you know DC or Joe Rogan's?
So I do know that Joe Rogan likes to sweat on fight day like I do. So I do know that Joe Rogan works out. And I also know that DC and I both do prep on show day. And I think the verb cram sometimes gets negatively connotated in broadcasting circles. It's like, what do you mean you wake up and still have prep to do on show day? No, it's that there's always more I could do with 30 athletes, right? I can always watch one more interview and get a final nugget that I might actually use on his or her fight or walkout. So yeah, I mean, I run 5 miles on show day, so that's a big part of my ritual. I eat light, unfortunately. And yeah, I mean, it depends. Sometimes I have an early call time, right, which doesn't afford me the opportunity to do any prep on show day. But certainly if I have 4 or 5 hours, especially for an East Coast pay-per-view, I'm prepping, I'm laying low, I'm keeping to myself, I'm saving my voice, I'm trying to get in the right headspace. I'm probably getting a text from my podcast producer, Cody Merrow, telling me to break a leg. And yeah, just trying to mentally, get myself ready to perform, because even though the show's not about me, it's about the athletes, this is a performing art, and we perform for 8 hours. So I take it pretty seriously. All right, what else we got?
It's not a baseball game, huh? Trade that 8 hours for 3 hours any day.
I'm telling you.
Then the next one, John, I did preface and I did give you the info before we started, but DK Sportsbook was offering some futures. One of the ones that I found very interesting was the welterweight odds, champion by the end of the year. The odds via DK Sportsbook were Usman minus 190, the current champion, Chimaev plus 550, a fan favorite, Leon Edwards plus 550, Burns plus 111, Luque plus 2,200, Muhammad plus 3,500, Sean Brady plus 3,500, Colby Covington plus 3,800, and Masvidal and McGregor sitting at the back with plus 5,000. John, where do you see this?
All right, so Kamaru Usman minus 190 to be the champion by the end of the year. So you have to think about that price relative to what price you will get him, presumably against Leon Edwards, who will be his next opponent. And given Usman's recent hand surgery, maybe he gets 2 in if he can find a way to fight in December. I actually don't think you're going to see Conor McGregor until the year-end pay-per-view. Put that in your pipe and smoke it on a Monday morning. So I feel like you're only going to see one fight from Usman, and minus 190 is going to be a better price than you're going to get on him for that title defense. So, I don't think that's a bad price. Khamzat Chimaev is interesting, I guess, at plus 550. If you like Leon Edwards to beat Usman head-to-head, maybe he's your guy at plus 550 because I think Edwards is only going to fight one time. If you're to assume that Burns is going to fight Khamzat Chimaev next, I don't see any value on Gilbert Burns because he has to beat Chimaev and then be granted an Usman rematch, which I think is out of the realm of possibility right now. Luque and Muhammad, I guess, an outside chance. I don't see any value on anybody else the rest of the way. So I thought it's an interesting question and an interesting proposition that they have right now live on Draftkings Sportsbook. All right, 3 to go, Cody. Let's go.
Next one is from Scott Key 44002087. Sounding
Whoa,
like a radio
a lot
ad.
of the handles were taken, Scott. Jesus.
The sport's biggest star was in the media this past weekend doing his rounds. He was available for questions. And the question for you, John, is it really possible that Conor McGregor gets a title shot upon his return? I think UFC would lose fans I would never watch again, and I've been watching since UFC 1. Well, you predate me, Scott Key, but John, what's the answer?
Wow. So if Conor McGregor's next fight is for the UFC Lightweight Championship, Scott, who's been watching UFC since UFC 1 in 1993, is going to boycott, not unlike Ray Longo's NFL boycott. All right, so here's the deal. Islam Makhachev has won 10 fights in a row, and there is a segment of the fan base that does not think that he is worthy of a lightweight championship opportunity. All I can tell you is that my boss, UFC President Dana White, largely believes in a meritocracy and a championship pecking order, but there are a lot of promotional considerations and things that go into it. I don't think Conor's next fight is going to be for the championship, but we've seen a lot of lightweights, whether it's Justin Gaethje or Dustin Poirier, earn second opportunities. We saw Michael Chandler come into the UFC without having to prove himself other than what he did outside the UFC and be granted a championship opportunity in short order because of the nature of his knockout of Dan Hooker. So far be it from me to sit here on a soapbox and try to suggest that, one guy is more worthy than another, because you're going to hear venom from some corner of the fan base or another. The only upside for me in Conor McGregor fighting for the title is that Charles Oliveira realizes a life-altering payday. And if Charles is able to get past Justin Gaethje and he wants to fight Conor McGregor in December, I'm not going to sit here on a hot microphone and get in the way of that. But in a true meritocracy, I don't know how you deny Islam Makhachev. And the argument against Makhachev, and I know the question was about Conor McGregor, but the argument against Islam Makhachev is that he doesn't have this signature win against a top 5 guy. 3 times he was scheduled to fight Rafael Dos Anjos. Twice those went away because of RDA. I don't know that you can use that against him. And then Beneil Dariush breaks his leg in advance of this, past weekend. So I don't know. For me, Islam Makhachev is the guy. I don't think Conor's next fight is going to be for the belt. But if it is, I think it's going to be because Charles Oliveira has successfully defended against Gaethje, and then he calls for that shot. And at that point for Oliveira, 11 in a row, I ain't going to sit here and deny it. How's that for a long-winded answer?
John, it's your program. You can be as long-winded as you want. AnikDotes, not Cody Dotes. Austin Collette comes in and asks, what does the Covington Masvidal fight do for the winner's title aspirations, considering they both already have lost to Usman twice? John, I will also add on to that. Is the BMF title going to be on the line?
BMF title's not on the line. I think style points would be useful this weekend. Certainly a finish for either guy puts them back into the mix. And I think it goes without saying that whoever loses this fight is not going to be in that championship conversation. But there are a lot of big names at welterweight. There are still a lot of big fights, and even emerging guys like Bilal Muhammad and Vicente Luque could find themselves in a main event with the loser of this fight, Covington or Masvidal, and then Covington or Masvidal might be favored to beat that guy, win that fight, and then they thereby eliminate another contender. So, I think both of these guys really are the goods. The problem is the champion is the best pound-for-pound fighter in the sport right now. So I think for Covington, especially because he has spent so much time of his career in this rivalry with Kamaru Usman. You got to finish Jorge Masvidal if you're going to be in that conversation in the next year. We're going to get to the Bantamweight division here shortly, and we're going to talk about how far away some guys are, despite the fact that they're number 5 or 6 in the world right now. So I think style points would be useful, and certainly Masvidal is not trying to win on points this weekend. I can tell you that much.
Well, and John, there's something to be said also for the fact that not many divisions have a matchup that can lead a pay-per-view that is not a title fight. The welterweight is one of them. Colby Covington, Masvidal, they both moved the needle. Nate Diaz, another name that comes to mind. But the question from Evan K900 is, which division has impressed you the most, considering where it was just 1 year ago?
All right, so I'll say Bantamweight might be an easy cop-out style answer because Bantamweight was on fire at this time a year ago, but I just want to bring these names to your attention, right? You have Aljamain Sterling and Petr Yan who have the belts. TJ Dillashaw, Jose Aldo, Corey Sandhagen, Rob Font, who I believe is one of the best 25 pound-for-pound fighters in the world, is distant down that list off the loss to Jose Aldo. Merab Dvalishvili, right, is the boogeyman. He's the candy man. He is this division's Khamzat Chimaev or Islam Makhachev, and right now at number 6 in the world, he might be 2 years away from a championship opportunity. Maybe longer, right? And then, of course, guys below him, my man Dominic Cruz, really resurging. Marlon Chito Vera, and then Sugar Sean O'Malley and Ricky Simone sort of on the outside looking in. Bantamweight's on fire. But I center on Merab Dvalishvili because he's the guy that nobody wants to fight, and I think he's the guy that's just going to, have to put that double-digit winning streak on paper, not unlike Tony Ferguson, not unlike Islam Makhachev, and just make himself so hard to deny that eventually he gets that chance. But 135 pounds to me is the most impressive division, and probably would have been my answer a year ago as well.
Well, John, that's it for Q and Anik here. Make sure you use that hashtag AnikDotes for the next episode so that we can get your questions in there.
That a guy. Nice promotion in advance of UFC 273. Coming up April 9th, thank you, Cody, in Jacksonville, Florida. I'll be driving. We will rent a car, West Boca Raton to Jacksonville, Florida. I'll avoid the metal tube and the airports on both ends at all costs. All right, rip up your tickets and my action as we look ahead and look back. My wife does not watch AnikDotes, so I can say this right now. I've paid the man 5 straight weeks. So as I said off the top, not necessarily looking to relive this forgettable stretch. 8 games under 500 in college basketball over the last 10 days. And yesterday, Saturday, February 26th, started the day 7-0. Texted my twin brother, hey, 7-0 out of the chute, plus $335 or whatever the hell. Lost 6 of my next 7 bets, all 6 losses on college basketball. I did hit an NHL game on the LA Kings. So, way too many games, and 7-0 start all of a sudden becomes an 8-6 day and a small profit. Did well on the Super Bowl, you may recall, as we sort of look back. Bengals +4 was a winner. We had Cooper Kupp to win the Super Bowl MVP at 6-1. So he was among the guys that we had targeted. So I guess not all was lost on the night, but I did have a rather large in-game wager on the Cincinnati Bengals. Not wise of me. And our biggest MVP bet was Aaron Donald. So most of the Cooper Kupp profit was swallowed up. I had a huge bet on Aaron Donald to win the MVP. And candidly, when he wrapped up the game on 3rd and 1 and then 4th and 1, I was walking to the window to cash the ticket, and I ended up ripping it up. My futures action looks pretty good in the NBA. Miami Heat and the Philadelphia 76ers to win the conference, the Eastern Conference, by the way, at good prices. We did have a ticket on the Sixers, I think, in the 9-1 range before they traded for James Harden. But I don't love our futures in the NHL. As you recall, we have Florida Panthers, Division, Conference, Stanley Cup. I was at the game yesterday. They need net minding. They need goaltending. They might have the best offense in the NHL, but they're taking on water. Bobrovsky just needs to stop a puck. I was at the game yesterday, sitting in the second row. I'm a big Panthers fan, second to my dear, beloved Boston Bruins. But yeah, I don't love those Panthers tickets necessarily. Miami Heat and Sixers pretty good. St. Louis Blues, we got some future action on them. They look pretty average, so we'll see. I mean, I will say in terms of my future action, the Florida Panthers now have some time off. I will start a Panthers system and bet on them now until they win a hockey game because they have lost 3 games in a row. So I will be on the Panthers. It's going to be a huge price against the Ottawa Senators, and I just know it might lay the goal and a half. But I don't think the Panthers are going to be bringing a cup here to South Florida this season. All right, that is it for our UFC 272 edition of AnikDotes. I cannot wait to see Covington and Masvidal this weekend. It's a huge pay-per-view, and you can follow DraftKings to get more content throughout the week on social media at DraftKings. For the DraftKings Sportsbook, it is at DK Sportsbook on Twitter and on Instagram at DraftKings_Sportsbook. You can also look out for my Fast Finishes odds boost coming up in advance of the pay-per-view this weekend. We'll take 2 fights, put them together. Both have to be finishes, and we'll give you a boost on whatever is the plus money offering there. And we hope you all hit them straight in the book, at least better than I have over the last 10 days or so with your UFC 272 selections. DraftKings Sportsbook, and we will see you all live on pay-per-view Saturday night. Thanks to our producer, Cody Merrow, and everybody who chimed in for the Q&A. With that, I'm Jon Anik. We'll see you next time. Until then, don't text and drive. Enjoy the pay-per-view, ladies and gentlemen. Yo, later.